Hello everyone, Brian here, doing a little work on the Milan Cathedral, and just a couple of things that I thought it might be worth talking about. So I did Kumamoto Castle, which was the first time I did a glue-up paper model, and now Milan Cathedral is one step larger than that. Now I did have somebody make a comment, and I appreciated it, that Milan Cathedral is actually a free download on a Canon printer website promoting one of the ways you can use Canon printers, and good on them. And so I paid $27 for this Milan Cathedral kit out of pretty good cardstock. And the way to view this in my mind, perhaps because I paid money for something I could have gotten for free, is that essentially I paid somebody to buy the cardstock and to pay for the printer ink and print it off and send it to me. When I took a look at what it costs for cardstock, say $15, and what you think of how much it costs for printer ink, I'm guessing I paid $10. Or maybe a little less for somebody to send this to me. So not a terrible thing. But everybody should be aware that this is available as a free download, and I certainly appreciate the comment making me aware of that. So I've been putting together the pieces of this, and I am currently working on the crossing and the sacristy. And there are two things here that I think are worth noting. One is that no matter how careful you are, you're going to find, so on the nave here, I lined up the roof right with the edges of the nave, so it was precisely there. What that meant, I've found, is that the top of the roof here is, how can I point this out, slightly in from the edge of the nave on that side. And so I'm going to have a noticeable gap here no matter what I try and do. Now what I'll do going forward is I'll more carefully look at pieces that come together. And the first thing I'll probably think about is how can I make the gap equal on either side so that hopefully it's too small to see. And I've got the same problem on the crossing. When you put this roof piece in here, which is one piece with roofs glued onto it, you end up, again, I don't know how I can show you this. You can see this little tiny gap right there. The roof is slightly in from these sides, and I'm not sure what to do about that. Now, maybe when I get this all together, I won't even notice that it'll be negligible. The other thing that I've been thinking about is I've got this set of gray tone, in this case, Tombow markers, so that when you score edges, like you do up here to bend this over, you end up with this color on this side, and this side, and then across the top you end up with white because you've scored that and you've bent it over. So while I was waiting for something to glue up, I went to color that in. Well, I picked one of these grayscale markers, and I began right here, as you can see. Shame on me. It was too dark. And so now I've got this dark line across here that stands out that I'm unhappy with. What I ended up having to do was going to the very lightest color that was available, and that I was able to color across the top here, and you can see you can't even tell. All it did was made that gray so that it doesn't stand out as a white line between two colored parts. But I should have taken this on a piece that I had not yet cut out, say here, and I should have colored right next to it to see how big the contrast was before I actually applied it to the model. So I'm sure many of you, all of you who have done these before are saying, oh, that's a rookie mistake. But in case some of you haven't done this before, always test stuff before you do it on the actual model. I should know that. I've been building models for years, not this kind of model, but different kinds of models, and I should know this. It's ridiculous that happened to me. The other thing is it has been interesting figuring out how to glue up these tabs. When you've got shapes like this, how do you do this? And when I was gluing up that tab right there, I ended up using tweezers and hanging it off the side of the table here. You have to get creative with how you do these things. Now, I've said before, I've got this set of 3 self-closing tweezers. I'm about to go out and buy another set of 3 because I've used these continually and often found that while something is gluing up here, I wish I had another set of 3 tweezers so that I could continue work on the model. So these self-closing tweezers, now I'm finding all of these are approximately the same length, even though they're different shapes. They've got different curves to them, different widths to them. This one is straight. I'm going to look for versions of these that actually are longer in this section, so that I can really get in there and clamp these items. So if you're doing paper models, I can't say enough about these. At least for my work, these have been invaluable. So anyway, that's Milan Cathedral. That's where we're at. A couple of things I've learned. And the other thing is when you're putting pieces like this on, so here are 3 arched pieces and then this complex piece on this side that can only be put in once this arched piece is in. You got to be careful with these because I found with Kumamoto Castle, it's really easy when you glue something up to bend the rest of the piece. So you glue this up so it's all nice and level, and yet you've made this arch upward because of the way you've stressed the paper. So you've really got to be careful that the pieces you're working on remain flat. What I ended up doing with this piece here is I glued in these 2 sides so that I could put this on. And then there's a tab under this side and under that side. And I glued those 2 in, and I left this section unglued so that I could glue it in later to make sure I'm not stressing the paper. And turns out I was stressing the paper. So I ended up coming in with a knife here and carefully over and over again scoring this side here until the tab broke away. And then the paper laid flat, and you see there's no real damage there, no seam. So the only thing that's holding this piece to this piece is a tab on this side. This tab has been broken away, and that meant that the overall paper didn't get stressed and arched. What I don't like about this is that this piece is slightly down on either side from this piece. And if I were to do this over again, I might not use the tabs at all. I may actually cut those tabs off and try and glue this directly to that, so that everything is on the same level. So, more of just kind of experimenting and figuring this out as I go along. Forgive the shaky cam this evening. Much easier to use the camera and get it in close to the things I'm talking about. Even looking at the camera now, I'm really irritated by that dark line there. I don't know what to do about that. I'll have to think about that. So anyway, thank you for joining me, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.